Hello, art historians, and welcome. We are here at the end of week 7. This week had a lot of work that went along with it, so I want to thank you so much for all your effort and for a really great job on those formal analysis papers. I am in the process of reading through them right now, but they will absolutely be graded by the end of the day. So this is a pretty big week to discuss because we had a lot of things due, like I said, and I have a lot of announcements to mention for week 8, which is the final week of our course. I don't know how this happened so quickly, but here we are. So before I get into all of that stuff, I want to just quickly summarize our 2 quizzes that we had and clarify some multiple choice answers, as well as just talk about your discussion that you had. So first, let's talk about quiz number 12. It asks about Robert Rauschenberg's bed and being an early example of which movement, known for its use of non-traditional materials and blurring the boundaries between painting and sculpture. And so some of you were tempted to select the answer abstract expressionism, but in fact, Neo-Dada would have been the correct response here. And so this is because this piece, bed, is, which a lot of you actually liked. We'll talk about this with our discussion in just a second. It is one of the earliest examples of Neo-Dada and as an art movement. And so this movement is really characterized by its use of everyday objects and very non-traditional materials, and often incorporating them into the assemblages or assemblages if you're feeling fancy. That really blurs the boundary between what is exactly a painting and then what qualifies as a sculpture. So Neo-Dada artists like Rauschenberg sought to really challenge these conventional notions of art, and they wanted to really embrace humor and playfulness and like almost an element of like chance in their work. And so even though bed was created during the era of abstract expressionism, it really differs very fundamentally in its method and its intent. And so it isn't considered a part of abstract expressionism, firstly because of its focus on the materials rather than the emotion. And so that's what abstract expressionism does. It emphasizes emotional expression and the act of painting itself, prioritizing a little bit more spontaneity and gestural brush strokes to emphasize certain feelings. Now, bed, by contrast, really focuses on more of the physicality of the materials and what it's actually created with. And of course, we are rejecting the canvas as a sacred space, and we are really embracing the conceptual over the emotional. And so, though it does certainly make sense to suggest that bed is part of the abstract expressionist movement, timeline-wise, conceptually, it does fit into Neo-Dada, and so that's why that answer would have been correct. Then we take a look at quiz 11, my bad, quiz number 12. We are looking at what the environmental and geological themes are explored in Robert Smithson's Spiral Jetty. My words are not coming out of my brain correctly this morning. And so some of you chose some other responses, and the correct one was the relationship between industrialization and nature's cycles of creation and decay. So this is a monumental earthwork artwork, and it poignantly explores the interplay between industrialization and nature's cycles of creation and decay. And so, of course, that's why that answer would have been correct. So it also reflects a lot of these concepts within other themes. For example, the use of industrial techniques in a natural setting. Heavy machinery was needed to put together Spiral Jetty. We're also seeing a little bit more engagement with entropy. So he was really fascinated by this inevitable decline and transformation of systems over time. And so Spiral Jetty is perfectly exemplifying this concept by embracing change and decay as intrinsic to its existence. And it really exposed the shifting levels of the Great Salt Lake and called a little bit more awareness to environmental issues. Now, we're also seeing industrial sites as part of nature's cycles, the spiral as a symbol, art as a living and changing entity, and so that is why Spiral Jetty is really serving as a very profound commentary on the coexistence of human industry and natural processes, all while celebrating the transformative cycles of creation and decay, rather than lamenting them. It really is a bridge that divides humanity and nature, it bridges the divide between humanity and nature, and it invites viewers to reflect on their interconnectedness and how we are one with a work of art like this. And so, in regards to our discussion that we had this week, I wanted to mention Alex's comment about the gates, and what you had questioned why it was set up in the wintertime. And I actually did a little bit more research on my own about this, and there were actually 5 really good reasons for why they chose this time of year to have a work like this on display versus some of the others. And so the first reason to have the gates up during the winter months is very practical. The trees in Central Park are leafless, and so the gates have a little bit more of an enhanced visibility. And of course, they're now also bringing some really bright colors to sort of a gloomy season. For those that aren't in the New York, New Jersey area, it's a great place to be. We have access to so many things. But the winters, they tend to get a little gray, and I don't know, as a teacher myself in the public school, I do wake up with the sun down and I come home with the sun down, and I don't know about you all, but it does get to me after a little while. So I think having the gates kind of a part of this setting in New York City of Central Park during these months when we really need some like cheer is a really, really perfect time frame. Of course, there would also be fewer tourists and crowds compared to other seasons, which really allowed the locals and the visitors to experience artwork in a very intimate way without the pressure of overcrowding of people visiting from other places. Of course, it takes a very long time to prepare and install such a gigantic work of like this. I mean, 7,500 gates is no small feat. And so because there are fewer events happening in Central Park around wintertime, this was really just the best time frame to have that appropriate amount of time needed to set up such a work of installation like this. And of course, practical weather considerations. The winter conditions have a lower chances of lush greenery with minimal wildlife activity. We're not disrupting the park's ecosystem in any way, while ensuring the fabric wouldn't actually blend into those vibrant greens of spring or summer, which we really want them to stand out on their own. And so these deliberate choices really created an awesome a perfect time frame, a perfect area, and a perfect installation for John Claude and Christo. And so, of course, moving forward, many of you were very upset by Maria Abramovich's performance pieces. I understand completely. I am definitely not a person who handles violence or scary things very well. Even suspense kind of gets to me. As an art teacher and as an artist, I have a very active imagination. And so if I were to kind of engage with these types of media, it would definitely haunt my nightmares. So I really understand your reaction to a piece like this, but in reflection, we do have to admit that the fact that we are so upset by it is kind of the point. That is really what the artist was trying to do. And so getting such a reaction from her piece like this is really all what art is about and why studying it is so important. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on those. And many of you also, contrastingly, loved Rauschenberg's bed piece that I was talking about earlier. You loved the combined materials. You thought it was just really, really awesome. And so I like his work too. There's a couple of pieces I posted in the Carpino corner, so thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Now, what I want to cover next with you all is some really important stuff, keeping in mind going forward for the rest of our course and the end of week 8. So, at this point in time, I have almost all of your submissions of your different assignments graded. I'm working through those formal analysis papers right now. By the time this is posted in announcements, you will definitely have those grades back. Now, for the final week of our course, if we take a look at modules, it is far more simple for week 8 than we've seen previously. So you have your Notes 27 due, Module 15, Self-Guided Explorations, and Quiz 14. Now, that Module 15 does only have 1 unit in it, so a little bit lighter on the amount of work that you need to do. But in lieu of that, you do need to get your writing assignment number 4 done if you wish to participate in it. You have your exam number 2 as an option, and we also have our week 8 discussion. And so one thing I also want to mention, if anybody got an announcement this morning that you got a 0 on exam 1, the assignment was actually duplicated, so I apologize for any little moment of fear you might have had. It is fixed. It didn't affect your grade. Don't worry about it. But all of those other works that are assignments that you need to get done, they need to be submitted by Friday. And this is because Lindenwood has a crazy policy for its educators where grades are due very rapidly at the end of the semester. So I cannot grant any extensions for any work for this week or any missing work previously. So please just keep that in mind. I need everything submitted by Friday at the very latest. So get a head start this week if you can. Get it all over with, get it out of the way, check all that stuff off your to-do box. Or your check the box off your to-do list. That being said, folks, just keep in mind with the way that the rules work for what gets dropped that is placed on our syllabus if you need to read for more reference. For example, exam 1 and exam 2, one of those two lowest grades will drop. So if you're really happy with your score on exam 1, then there's really no point in taking exam 2 unless you think you can achieve a little bit higher. So just keep that in mind. Same things goes for all of our writing things that have been done so far. This last one, again, if you are really happy with your previous 2 scores, there's no point in doing the last 2. So just double check those rules though, make sure that I'm right in the way that I'm presenting them to you. All your work is due at the end of this week on Friday, and please folks, don't forget, it really helps me as an educator if you go in and complete those course evaluations. Though I've been, a high school art teacher for 10 years now, which is crazy to admit. This is, my first year as a professor, and though I have been teaching for quite a while, I have so much room to grow. I am a lifelong learner, and I fully accept and embrace that. So any, helpful commentary, anything like that, like thoughts on how the class went. Of course, we are introducing this new course design this year with a little bit of that gamified structure. So if you're able to reflect on what worked well for you, things that you might change going forward, I really want to hear all of your thoughts on how the half of the semester went. So don't forget to fill that out. And I think that's about it, folks. So great job on week 7. I'll do a final little wrap-up video at the end of this week, which is going to be a busy one. So go ahead and get started. And as always, reach out. Questions, comments, hopes, dreams. You want to talk about art? I'm here, and always checking my email. So I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, everybody.